the radio show here momentarily. I wanted to drop a quick update. You can check us out over at tclub.team, by the way, and we look forward to visiting with you. But I'm live in the Ramir studio here. I'm getting ready. That's a great John Adams right there. I'm getting ready to go hot here momentarily, but I wanted to bring you a little something. And that little something is a quick update on the Tennessee chase for a quarterback. Do you see that I'm live there? Can you pull it up? Laura, communicate with me. Is it live? Okay, cool. Ordinarily, I would let people get in here, but I've got to get ready for the show. So thank you, Robert, for letting me know that. But I'm going to go live with the program here. I'm really laying this down for people to look at later, and I'm going to refer to it throughout the day. But I'm in studio here, as you can see, and that's kind of our setup, and I'm getting ready to do my thing. So, with all that in mind, here's where we are. I'm reporting right now that Tennessee met with 3 quarterbacks over the weekend in 2 power leagues. Okay, 3 quarterbacks in 2 power leagues. Some people are asking, why aren't we hearing names? You're not going to hear a name, and I'm going to be respectful of this, and our local media is as well. You're not going to hear a name until you see somebody go into the portal. Because part of this is they've got to talk to people. They've got to negotiate with people. And if you looked at the blog today over at tclub.team, and we're following this in real time, and we're trying to do our dead level best to give you the best we can give you. But you go over to tclub.team and continue to follow along. That's also where you can hear the show. Tennessee met with 3 power quarterbacks over the weekend in 2 power leagues. All these guys are starting quarterbacks, okay? One of those guys said no right away. 2, as we sit here today, are possibilities, I believe. Either of these quarterbacks would be brought in to be the 2025 starter, and it wouldn't be a quarterback competition. It would be, hey, you're a veteran quarterback. You've played power level football. You've played in power leagues, and we're bringing you in. That's where we are, okay? The one thing that kind of gums all this up is Tennessee, if you'll think back on the Nico timeline last week, as I've reported, they broke ranks with Nico Tuesday of last week in terms of they told Nico, hey man, you're not getting a raise. It was Tuesday of last week. They told his father, we're paying you more than fair market value for what your son has done, and we're not breaking the bank for you. Well, that's all water under the bridge. But I say that to give you this context. They went to Merkelinger and gave him a sweetener to sort of head off issues with him because they knew they were going to have to go get a quarterback. They listened to Dan Lanning, they believed him, and then when the father pushed this thing to a head last week, they knew inevitably we're going to have to act accordingly. And that's exactly what they did. So the question now becomes, I think they sweetened Merkelinger a good couple $100,000 as a preventative. Merklinger's got a new agent now. It's the era we're living in. And we don't blame I don't blame any of these guys for anything. Because as Watson Brown said yesterday, these coaches kind of live in a one-way world themselves, so why shouldn't the kids? But Merkelinger already wants more money. He wants more than what they gave him last week. And he was happy to get that last week, by the way. But he didn't know the full story last week. He didn't know, I'm getting this money and Nico's not going to be here. Merklinger's agent is the same guy that represented Beck, who's now at Miami. And Kirby Dumb is saying at Georgia, I'm not dealing with that guy. I'm never going to deal with that dude again, in fact. But that's Merklinger's agent now. I've been told that the Merkelinger people are pretty reasonable. And have been pretty reasonable, and he's a really good kid. So it's just business. By the way, well, I'm gonna get into this. So Josh Heupel is concerned that, and I'm laying this down on minutes before I'm going to go live here. So I'm going to go live over at tclub.team, and we're going to talk about this further and more, and we're going to write about it at tclub.team as well in our Friday blog. But the Merkelinger guy already wants more money. Tennessee proactively raised him last week, a couple $100,000 or so, okay? Here's the rub with finding a quarterback. Here's the rub with finding a starting quarterback. Josh Heupel is a creature comfort creature, as we've seen. And I don't believe he wants to upset the apple cart. And so, are they willing? It's one thing to talk to quarterbacks. It's one thing to get to like third base with a quarterback without getting home with a quarterback. Is Tennessee willing to let Merkelinger go? Does Tennessee, if it comes to that, do they call their bluff? Or do you just take him into the season and go do your thing? Here's the issue. And people are asking, okay, Tony, why aren't we hearing names? Why aren't we currently hearing names? You wonder what they're paying. Somebody asked on here what they're currently paying Merkelinger. I understand Merkelinger was making like $40,000. Tennessee gave him another couple $100,000 in good faith money last week. And the kid was like, whoa, I'll take that. I'll take that. The issue is, though, and the issue will be, is a kid going to leave? Because the guys Tennessee's talking to right now, the two guys that I know that they met with over the weekend, and one of whom they're pretty far down the track with, they're not bringing these guys in to compete for jobs. That's not what this is. This is not you're going to compete for a starting job. No. This is you're going to be here and you're going to be our starting quarterback because we're going to pay you good money to do that. So Merkelinger could be a flight risk. That's one thing Tennessee has to weigh. Another rub with finding a quarterback is that Josh Heupel is a comfort creature. We were wondering back in the winter, where's the beef in your wide receiving core? And you know what? I got to tell you, it remains a very good question because that is exactly one of the hurdles they've run into with both agents they've talked to. They've been told you don't have enough wide receivers around your football team from our perspective, and it's hard to argue with that. I mean, if you look at it, and I put this on paper today, Matthews looks like an okay player. I mean, I don't know. Is he going to be a star? I don't know. But he's not to this point. The Brazil guy is out to lunch. He just doesn't work at it. He's talented, but he doesn't work at it. Staley's penciled in as a starter in the slot. I don't know. You tell me. That's the rub here. One of these guys they're real close to getting home with, they've been told, if you want me, you got to add a wide receiver or two. If you want me, you got to add a wide receiver or two. Because if you don't, you're not going to get me. And that's an issue. That's an issue here. Josh Heupel is a creature comfort creature. Okay? And that's who he is. Heupel's a stability first guy, and they chose to stand pat in the winter. And now that Nico's flown the coop, it's left these agents to look at their offense and say, okay, who's your returning running back? It's not just wide receivers. Who's your returning running back? You guys tell me, who is it? It's either a walk-on from Carnes or the Peyton Lewis kid who flashed last year, but You have to look at these other quarterbacks are going to come from. Both the guys we're talking to played on pretty good teams last year in power leagues. They're one power league each. Both camps, I found out now, are saying we're going to need you to upgrade your offense. They're caught in a spot here. They are caught in a spot. That's one of my sources. I got to go. I got 10 minutes to get on the air, and I got to talk to somebody. But I wanted to give you this update. The next 24 to 36 hours are very critical in terms of landing one of these big fish. I was told if you don't see some activity, by, let's say, Saturday afternoon, I'd start getting concerned. Now, I'm not saying it has to happen by the weekend, but if you don't see some activity by then, I'd start getting concerned. I do think Tennessee has a couple fallback potential candidates, one of whom's names has been out there, a kid that's played in the league. I'm not going to get into names, but you could see them bring a guy in to compete for. You could see them bring a guy in to compete for the gig. So that's the update. We'll see what happens. Tennessee's involved with 2 right now. They met with 3 over the weekend. I think they're involved with 2. You're not hearing names, and you won't hear a name till you see somebody go into the transfer portal. That's when you're going to know. That's when the media, including me, are going to say, hey, that's the guy. But you're going to have to trust me on this. They are involved. They are trying. They are willing to bring a guy in. And if they bring a top-line guy in, they have to be willing to maybe see that Merkelinger, that's a risk. Is he going to leave? Because he's hired a new agent. He's hired the agent of Carson Beck. That's your update. That's where we are. I expect Tennessee to not only, if they get one of these quarterbacks, I expect them to add a wide receiver or maybe, I don't know, running back, somebody, some more options on offense, beef things up offensively. Look, I was highly critical of Heupel in the fall transfer portal for not adding. I don't see urgency from him. I'm sorry, I don't. I wish I did. One thing you're always going to get from me, those of you that are not familiar with me, I'm going to call it like I see it. I look at myself like I'm an umpire. Hey, umpires can be wrong when they're calling balls and strikes. It's not easy to do or everybody would be doing it. This isn't easy to do or everybody would be doing it. So, that said, one thing I'm going to do my dead level best is to keep you informed going forward. We'll be doing more of these fireside chats. I've got to get on the air. I got 5 minutes. You can check me out over at tclub.team. This is touching the surface. We're going to really expound on it on the radio show. You have yourself a great, great, blessed day. Spread the word for us. Help the channel grow. Like and subscribe here. As we go live, you will get the notifications that several folks have. And we love you. We appreciate you. Peace on the streets. G to the B to the O. And don't let the door hit you. Team Nico. Peace.